shared functions, those that overlap, emergency, dealing with emergencies, there's a responsibility by both the national and the county government. If there's a big national outbreak of some pest in one particular county, but that disease is likely to then transfer to the next county, national government will be asked to come in, even though county government has a responsibility to deal with it. So these are the dynamics of devolved government. And we are going to later then just discuss what are the implications of these quite complex interrelationships. Quickly, I go to the structure. Now everybody knows. I think some 3-4 months ago, people were very confused. County Assembly ni nani? In fact, the people's rep or county rep, they were being given very many names. Senator. But now that we voted for them, we have an idea. We are not sure maybe what they do, but we have an idea of who they are. So the county government has 2 arms. It has the county executive and it has the county assembly. The county executive is the governor, the deputy governor, their CEC or their cabinet, their county executive committee, who will be nominated by the governor and approved by the county assembly. And then there's a county public service board that will assist them in the recruitments for their administrative functions. The county assembly has the members that we elected recently, who have also elected their speakers. So the county assembly has the county assembly speaker, the deputy speaker, the majority party leader, minority party leader, and a county parliamentary service board. Of course, an important part of the county structure is the citizens. The citizens have been placed at the middle of development, as you will see. I won't go into the roles of these respectively. I think we can look at that later when in the open forum. But suffice to say, the county executive deals with the implementation of policy, the delivery of services. The county assembly legislates, approves appointments, approves the budget, approves the plans that are prepared by the executive. So both sides are very critical. If you have a very weak county assembly, then the county executive might run amok. If you have a weak county executive, then you'll be in a lot of trouble. And Kenyans knew this. Kenyans have elected primarily professionals as their governors. So despite there not being the civic education that we expected to see, Kenyans understood that our governor has to be somebody who can deliver our services. Important functions of the county government: policy and legislation, management of the county public service, they recruit the staff, preparing county plans, preparing annual budgets. County government cannot spend money unless it's in a plan. The budget must be informed by a plan, and there's an intricate way of preparing the plans. It's a form of discipline. Entering into service agreements, receiving grants and loans, borrowing money, delivery of services, ensuring citizen participation. It also has a responsibility to civic educate its residents. Levels of decentralization below the county level have been created. Urban areas. These are to be classified. These are areas that have populations, depending on the threshold, over 500,000, they can then constitute a city. 250, an urban area. 50,000, a town. And they are managed, the cities and the urban areas are managed by a board, similar to what we've had with the city councils. They have a board, and there's a law really that defines the functions of these boards. The idea is that these areas of high population require special attention, and their services should be dealt with by a board that is closer to the needs of that high population area to enable growth, and also to ensure that services for high population area are well resourced. There's another level of decentralization, which is the sub-county. There are 290. They correspond with the constituency levels. There's then the electoral ward level. These are 1,450, as many as the county assembly members that we elected. And these, of course, are the wards, and then the villages. Villages will be, the administrative boundaries of the villages will be determined by the county governments through their own legislation. Each level has an administrator. The governor administrates, is the executive authority of the county government. Urban areas will be administrated by the city or municipal manager. Sub-county will be administrated by the sub-county administrator. Electoral wards will be administrated by the ward administrator, villages by the village administrator. So you can understand why there is a big concern when national government has posted county commissioners and sub-commissioners all the way down to the local level, because already the counties have this structure. So you can wait to see there's going to be a lot of fireworks around that. Citizen participation is entrenched. Of interest is there's established a county budget and economic forum, and this forum will be the advisory forum for the county government on matters to do with planning and budgeting. There are county forums for direct engagement. The county is responsible for ensuring public engagement, for developing the structures, for doing the civic education. The governor has to report every year on the status of public engagement. So anyone who's concerned whether citizens have a space in the counties, we have a wide open space. Our problem is, are we ready to occupy the space? Accountability, very quickly. The governor needs to present an annual report to the county assembly on how he, now we can say he, unfortunately, before we could say he or she, on how the governor has implemented policies. So there's an annual report. There's an annual state of the county address. There's an annual report by the governor to the county assembly on citizen participation. There are reports by the county public service board each December to the county assembly. And, there are numerous other financial reports. There's quarterly and annual reports by all accounting officers looking at financial management as well as performance indicators. So a framework has been created to create a very strong administration and bureaucracy, or rather bureaucratic framework that is very accountable, so that counties are supposed to become a very effective machine able to deliver their services. They're not going to be some loose association there where people sit together and make, decisions that are not transparent. There are numerous avenues of redress, even though some of them are nominal. Removal of the speaker is provided. Petition of the citizens can petition the county assembly. Citizens can recall a county assembly member, even though the process is so difficult, it's possibly not, it's really virtually impossible. Removal of the governor is also very difficult, but it's provided. Maybe now, as we review the laws, we're going to have to look at how do you make this more practical. Removal of the CEC member, appeals. So there are dispute resolution mechanisms, including mechanisms to suspend a county government that is not adhering with its constitutional requirements, especially on the financial side or on political side, if it's preaching, if it's preaching secessionism and other kind of divisive policies. What are the critical county milestones? Because the next 10 minutes, I'll want to talk about the transition very quickly. Critical milestones, of course, we've already crossed the first one, which was election. The next one has been crossed, which has been the swearing in of the county assemblies, the governors, and now we've even seen the Senate, and then the appointment of the speakers. Then what do the counties need to do? The counties need to appoint their effective county secretaries. They are called county secretaries, the county ministers, key of which is the county secretary for finance. What the Ministry of Finance did is they recruited and posted and seconded county finance secretaries on a temporary basis, so that when the governors come in, there's somebody there handling finance. They made mechanisms to set up interim facilities for the treasury, so at least basic financial aspects can be dealt with immediately. But the governor now has to set up the system proper. Immediately, these county governments have to approve the estimates for the 4 months of their existence before the end of the financial year, which comes in July. They will then need to establish their county public service board, which will recruit their staff. In the interim, they'll work with seconded staff from national government. They'll then need to adopt estimates for the next financial year. These were prepared, but they were contested by the CRA and they were shelved. They have to first be passed by Parliament and then passed by the county government, so that county governments will have budgets for the financial year beginning in July of 2013. By August 2013, county governments need to commence their planning and budgeting process for the financial year of 2014-2015. So county governments are on a sprint to begin these administrative functions. And by this time, they haven't yet taken over services. And I'll deal with the transfer of functions as we look at the transition. There's a little handout we prepared, and we are calling it Keeping the Transition Honest. How do we move from the local authorities, which are now scrapped, the districts, the various institutions, how will those be transited into the new county governments? What are the issues to consider? What the Task Force on Devolved Government, which you may have made submissions to, you may have read about in the paper in 2011 when it was set up. It was set up actually end of 2010. What they did is they proposed a Transition to Devolved Government Act, which set up the Transition Authority, which is all over the media right now, and of to coordinate with government institutions, and it then has to deliver numerous important transition aspects, some of which include, I'll just facilitate the analysis and phase transfer of functions, determine resource requirements for the county level, coordinate with relevant state organs to prepare the budgets for the first year of the county governments, prepare an inventory to validate, prepare and validate an inventory of all existing assets and liabilities. The big land issue is supposed to be dealt with here. So it has a lot of functions, including dealing with personnel transfer. So the Transition to Devolved Government has 8 members who are recruited competitively. It then has another number of members who are with key ministries of finance, of planning, Ministry of Justice, public service, who sit there as members. So these together form the Transition Authority, and they have then a secretariat and their staff. The transition is supposed to happen in 2 phases. Phase 1 was to prepare for the phased transfer of functions, because the Constitution says that our transition to devolved government will be phased. If Nairobi is not ready to take up health functions, it will not take them up until it's built the infrastructure. Of course, Nairobi is one of the privileged. It has a lot of the infrastructure it needs. It's maybe more marginalized areas that have problems. So counties will receive their functions as they go along, because the key aspect of devolution is to bring services closer to the citizens. But you can't give services unless a county is able to perform them. So the Transitional Authority has to ensure the capacity building, ensure the county is able to take up the functions, identify the functions and the timing and the resourcing, and ensure that happens. It's a risky process because capacity building can be delayed under the pretext of we are not ready. Finances can be withheld on the pretext of their functions have not been transferred. So we have to monitor the transition to ensure devolution does not become a stillborn because maybe the functions are not transferred and the resources are not transferred. So you're going to hear a lot of politicking, and it's not even politicking, a lot of consultation about the functions when they're being transferred and how they'll be transferred. The second phase of the transition is supposed to come after the elections, and it was actually assumed that the assets would have been audited, inventorized, and the first level of functions would have been transferred. That did not happen. We are actually very behind schedule. It's a big process. It's a political process, so we are behind schedule. So counties start off with the disadvantage of, really being behind schedule. We don't yet have the assets register. We don't know the land assets, we don't know the building assets, we don't know what needs to move from national to or local authorities to the county governments. We don't know what was stolen in the process, because rest assured it was stolen either in the process or even prior, so that we might have the situation